let's go back to that troubled region of the Middle East and bring into the conversation someone who can give us some informed views for a key player in that area. I refer to His Royal Highness Prince Khalid bin Bandar Al Saud, who's the ambassador from Saudi Arabia to the United Kingdom. And I understand now I can address you as Mr. Ambassador. Is that correct, sir?
That's absolutely fine.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for coming to the studios. As I said, the area is in constant review. What has the arrival of newly re-elected President Trump brought to the dynamic? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on, Nick. Well, it has definitely changed the dynamic quite significantly. We've already seen the effect on the hostage deal. He's managed to help push that through. We've seen a much more public engagement with what's happening. And, we welcome the full weight of America behind trying to find a solution. And we've seen that he can definitely help move things along.
So it's a positive he's brought?
It's been positive thus far.
What about rhetoric such as all hell will break loose and language such as that, Mr. Ambassador?
The United States government and the president can speak for themselves. I'm not here to speak on their behalf, but, sometimes rhetoric does help shift things.
He's got a goal, a dream for Gaza that would mean turning it into a riviera-style area, but the local people being moved out. Your reaction to that plan, possibly settled in Saudi Arabia, Mr. Ambassador?
Well, my government's position is we would welcome a riviera in Gaza. I think that would be wonderful. But we're not going to do it by removing the Palestinian people. Certainly not moving to Saudi. They don't want to move. It's their land, it's their territory. They deserve all the best that we can provide for them there. And we'd welcome America's efforts to improve their situation on the ground.
So how do you see the redevelopment of Gaza taking place, Mr. Ambassador?
Well, first there's a lot to do before that. One, you have to clean up Gaza. Two, you have to provide some sort of peace mechanism. From our position, the only way that can be done is through a two-state solution. We have to create a Palestinian government that's recognized by everyone, including Israel. And then we can begin to work on building Gaza. 75 years ago, many Palestinians left their homes and they lost them. I don't think they want to do it again.
Would temporary accommodation be provided for the people in Saudi? Would you ever see that happening?
That's a decision for the Palestinians. We're happy to take people in. We're a welcoming country. If there's a situation that they want to come to Saudi, then they're welcome to come. But I don't think they want to leave. They want to keep hold of land that they've been threatened with losing. And I think that's most important.
You'll be aware of the days, if not hours, ticking down to this deadline on Saturday, 12 noon on Saturday. All hostages to be released, initially put forward by President Trump, supported overnight, I'm sure you're aware, by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. How nervous should we be about that?
Well, when I first heard of the details of the hostage release plan, I was slightly incredulous because it was complicated, long drawn out, many phases. It was quite staged, which opens the door for a lot of negative players to try and spoil it. I'm thrilled that it's gotten as far as it has, but there still are a lot of negative players on both sides, and I think we have to watch with care. Intransigent positions can lead to the failure of good things. So hopefully it goes forward.
Now, I've read that talks could take place soon between President Trump and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Can you confirm when they're taking place, or is that as yet unknown?
It's being worked on, timings, etc. They are in contact quite regularly, both through diplomatic channels and phone calls. I can't speak if they have each other's WhatsApp number. That's also possible. But there will be conversations had. It's really important for us to get this over the line and to present not just the Saudi position, but the position of the region.
What is the Saudi position?
It's very simple. Two-state solutions based on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as a capital. At the end of the day, that's our perspective, but the important perspectives are that of the Palestinians and the Israelis. They need to both agree on what the right solution is. From where we sit, we don't see another option.
What do you understand to be the relationship between the two men?
The Crown Prince and the President?
And President Trump.
I think it's a healthy relationship. People are often get hysterical about political developments, we forget that the president has already had one term. We know what happened. The world didn't end. In fact, many parts of the world were improved. We get along with any leader of our friends, but also of countries we don't get along with. We try very hard to engage. The relationship with the US is one that is a friendly relationship, not just an alliance. And we'll continue that regardless of who's in the Oval Office.
It's fair to say, I think, Ambassador, that many of my listeners are not familiar with Saudi. They won't have been through Saudi Arabia. They don't know much about it. How would you sell Saudi Arabia to someone who's never been there?
Well, it's number one, and what's amazing about it at the moment, it's a country going through huge change. Social, cultural, economic. It's remarkable what's happened in the last 10 years. It's rare that you get to see a country going through this dynamic change in a positive sense. If you look around the world in the last 10 years, there's been a lot of change. Not much of it's been positive. So if you want to see energy and optimism, which is lacking in many places, come to Saudi and see it. It's a beautiful country. It's huge. It's the size of Western Europe. Amazing deserts and mountains, lots of great tourist sites, ancient sites. You know, the Middle East, people forget. We have 10,000 years of continuous history that's recorded. Every civilization in the three continents of Africa, Asia, and Europe has been through the Middle East. So there's a lot to see there. And get on a plane, it's easy to get a visa and come see it.
A lot of people will be getting on planes in a few years' time, the World Cup 2034. What is in preparation? How are you, well, not you personally, Mr. Ambassador, but how is the country going to ensure that everyone has a tournament to remember?
Well, we're going to try our hardest. It's a very welcoming country. We have a rich history of hospitality. We're famous for our hospitality in Arabia. We're working hard to provide the best possible World Cup that we can. Not just, when you see the World Cup, people misunderstand why we're doing this. It's principally to create jobs, opportunities, economy, and for our people to see that we can do it as well as anyone else. And that's a huge, huge part of our development program and our transformation program for the country. We're building new stadia. As you, I'm sure, will have followed, we're trying to improve our domestic football league by bringing in players from all around the world, some of the best players in the world. You know, we want people to come and have a welcoming, open time.
Will Mo Salah go to Saudi Arabia, Ambassador?
I'd love it if he did, personally.
Which team do you follow?
I shouldn't say this, but I'm a Chelsea fan.
Oh, right. I meant Saudi. You don't have a Saudi.
Oh, no. In Saudi, my team in Saudi is Al-Nassr. So
oh, right. And they bought some big name players, haven't
Ronaldo,
they? Yeah.
Duran just recently. It's, for me, you know, I'm a childhood supporter of Al-Nassr. Seeing those players playing in Saudi is really remarkable. It's not something I'd ever thought I'd see before. And the other day I was walking down Hyde Park and I saw two kids wearing two Saudi jerseys, not Saudi kids.
Right.
And that's a remarkable turn of events.
So you spent time in the West. You'll know that for football in the West, it is accompanied with, whether it's United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Germany, beer and alcohol. Well, you chuckle, but you know that, Mr. Amber. Will I be? I doubt I'll be there, but will I be able to have a beer or a glass of wine?
At the moment, we don't allow alcohol. But, you know, plenty of fun can be had without alcohol. It's not 100% necessary. And, you know, if you want to drink when you leave, after you leave, you're welcome to. But at the moment, we don't have alcohol inside.
When you say, you mean you have to go to a hotel? Presumably?
No. There's no alcohol at all.
So there's no alcohol. So the entire experience of the Saudi World Cup, from the moment you get off the plane, in your hotel, in the stadium, in the restaurants, in the coffee shops, will be alcohol-free.
Rather like our weather, it's a dry country.
Is that welcoming?
No, it's, you know, everyone has their own culture. And we're happy to accommodate people within the boundaries of our culture, but we don't want to change our culture for someone else.
Okay.
And, I mean, really, you can't live without a drink?
I can, I think, but... Well, you say you won't change your culture. Lastly, on this aspect, I am not gay, but if I was gay and I wanted to come with my male partner, will I be comfortable? Would I be able to hold his hand?
We will welcome everyone in Saudi.
So we could embrace walking to the local stadium?
You saw that recently, this was an issue in the World Cup in Qatar. There were no issues there. this is a special event that it is not a Saudi event. It is a world event. And to a large extent, we will be welcome to everyone who wants to come.
And are the dates set? I read there's been some debate about exactly what period of our year, if we use the Western year,
Sure.
we would play it in. Can you inform us where we are on that?
I'm not involved
No, I appreciate you're not running the football.
in the debates, but I know that there is a question. Obviously, our summers are very hot.
Tell me, help me, I don't know how hot is very hot.
This last summer, we hit the high 50s in a few days.
Well, even Mo Salah would struggle in those conditions, Ambassador.
Anyone would struggle in those conditions. So I think it probably makes sense to do it at a cooler time of the year. But
so is that what you would call our autumn or winter?
Probably. That would be my guess, but I don't know.
Do we know when the decision will be made on that?
That's something for FIFA and our Football Association to decide. But it's certainly logical.
Let's come back to President Trump. Last minute or so we've got together. Much is made of trade wars involving the president. Are we close to getting a trade deal between the United Kingdom, a better trade deal between the UK and Saudi?
Definitely. We're in talks now for a GCC UK
Is that
trade
Gulf
deal.
Cooperation Council?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it'll be all the Gulf countries. We've been negotiating this for about 2 years. It's very close. And I'm hoping that certainly before the end of this year, we'll have some movement on that.
And lastly, when do you think we might have some movement on the Yemen conflict? It's killed, the note I have here, nearly 380,000 people. This armed conflict has gone on. It goes back a number of years. There have been attempts at truces and peaces. What is the official Saudi position on that, Mr. Ambassador?
Well, currently we still have between Saudi Arabia, the Yemen government, and the Houthis, who, it's a civil war. And we are supporting the Yemeni government. We have a ceasefire and we have peace talks underway. We have an agreement that's constantly being refined. The conflict in Gaza obviously threw a bit of a spanner in the works. And currently, things are on hold, but I'm hopeful. You've got to remain hopeful. The fact that we've managed to keep the civil war from flaring up over the last year and a bit is positive. The longer you have no conflict, the closer you get to making that permanent.
OK, finally, in the unlikely event England get to the World Cup final all those years hence, can I come over and buy you a lemonade? We'll get some nice front row seats. Is that a deal, Ambassador?
You can come over and I'll provide you with coffee and tea.
Coffee and tea. Thank you for coming by the
Not
studio.
at all. Thank you very much.
His Royal Highness Prince Khalid Bandar Al Saudi, Ambassador of Saudi Arabia.
A real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador.